So yesterday we had completed this portion, the force between the two parallel wires. We had finished this topic yesterday. Now we have to start this new topic, which is circular current loop, okay, as a magnetic dipole. We have to start this new topic, circular current loop as a magnetic dipole. So in circular current loop as a magnetic dipole, the first thing that you should understand is that if we have a magnet, okay, if we have a magnet, so the north pole and south pole will be there, and the magnetic field lines will emerge from north pole and they will end at south pole, correct? Sorry, they will start from north pole and they will go towards the south pole. Fine. Now within the magnet, the magnetic field lines will flow from south to north. Okay, within the magnet they will move from south to north, hence forming a closed loop. So north to south outside the magnet, south to north inside the magnet. So this is how the magnetic field lines are there. This is how the magnetic field lines go now. Okay, so now after this we have to look for how can I say that circular current loop is acting as a magnetic dipole. Okay, how this circular current loop is acting like a magnetic dipole. Now in this we have done this case, I guess. Okay, we have already completed this case where we had calculated the magnetic field. Okay, we had calculated the magnetic field at this point P due to a circular current carrying coil. Due to a circular current carrying coil, we have calculated the magnetic field at point P, and this was the result. This was the result. So if I take this assumption that X is very, very large as compared to R, I can say that in denominator, R square can be neglected with respect to X square. Yes, R square can be neglected as compared to the X square. So when I neglect that, so I'll get a equation 2 over here. I'll get the equation 2 of them for the magnetic field, that is B is equals to mu naught I R square divided by 2x cube. Okay, I will be getting B is equals to mu naught I R square divided by 2x cube is the result what I will get now. Okay, so if I assume that area of this loop, this is the area, suppose. Okay, this is the area. This is the area of the loop. Now if I assume that this area A of the loop is given as, okay, so if I write area of loop A is equals to, so what will be the area? Pi r square. Pi r square will be the area of the loop now. Okay, so how will you substitute this r square now? How will you substitute this r square from the equation 2? So I'll just take r square as capital A by pi, and substitute in equation number 2. So when you substitute this r square value in equation number 2, so magnetic field value you will get it as mu naught I A divided by 2 pi x cube, correct? 2 pi x cube. Now here if I multiply and divide this by 2 and 2, so now what I am getting is mu naught, okay, 2 is here, I into A divided by 4 pi x cube. Now can anyone tell me what is I into A? What is I into A? Can anyone tell me? Can anyone tell me what is the value of I into A? We have studied that A quantity we have studied. What is I into A, if anybody can remember? It is magnetic moment. Okay, it is magnetic moment. Magnetic moment M. Okay, I by A is magnetic moment, not current density J. It's not the current density J. Current density is I by A. It is I into A. So I into A is magnetic moment. Now, if I rearrange it and then I write, okay, so if I rearrange it and then if I write it, so I'll be writing it like this: 2m divided by x cube. If this term I assume as capital K, if this term, if I assume as capital A, so I can write this magnetic field value as K 2m, okay, K 2m divided by x cube. Do you feel like a similar equation you have studied? Do you feel like a similar equation you have done? Yes? Yes? In electric dipole, okay? In electric dipole, okay, you have studied this equation, a similar equation like this, okay? 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, okay? 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught into 2p divided by x cube, okay? What was the case? What was the case? You had charge, okay? You had charge like this, and then here at this point along the magnetic dipole, okay, along the magnetic dipole the electric field calculation was done like this, okay. So this is the equation that you have studied along the axis of the dipole. So this equation I'm taking as third equation, okay. So along the axis of ring, okay, or a coil, along the axis of the coil the magnetic field that we have is given by the equation number 3, okay. So this is nothing but along the axis of coil, okay. Now because there is an analogy between equation number 3 and equation number 4, okay. Equation number 4 is calculated for electric dipole, okay. It is calculated for electric dipole, okay, at its axis, okay. Electric field due to electric dipole, electric field due to electric dipole at its axis, at its axis. So this implies that this very equation, third equation, okay, will be also valid for the, will be also valid for what? Will be also valid for the magnetic dipole, okay. It will be also valid for the magnetic dipole. So I can say now that equation number 3 is for magnetic dipole, okay, magnetic dipole, magnetic dipole. Now, if I have magnetic dipole, so this means I should be having north pole and south pole. I should be having north pole as well as south pole over there, correct? Because dipole means what? Two poles. So I should be having north pole and south pole. So how we have to visualize that? You just see, okay? So in class 10th, you would have studied this rule. Yes, in class 10th, you would have studied this rule as this is one thing, and the another thing that you would have studied would be like this. Yes, did you study like that? A figure in class 10th you would have seen like this. Yes, can anyone remember this figure from class 10th? From class 10th, can you remember this figure? Okay, so this is called as clock S rule. What is this? This is called as clock S rule. If you can remember, so this is called as clock S rule. Clock S rule. What is clock S rule? What is clock S rule? If current flows in clockwise direction, if current flows in clockwise direction, okay, then the face, okay, then the face facing towards you, okay, suppose you make a coil in front of you, imaginary coil in front of you, and assume that a clockwise current is flowing. Just assume a current, this coil in front of you, current carrying coil in front of you, okay, which is having a current in clockwise direction, okay. So if current flows in a clockwise direction, then the face facing towards you, okay, if you can assume width of that, okay, so I'll just tell you by this example. Suppose this is the thing, okay, this is the thing. Suppose the current flows clockwise like this. Suppose, okay, in this toroid, I'm taking the example, okay. Suppose the current flows like this, okay. So the face facing towards you. So this means this side you will be having now south pole. This side you will be having south pole. This side you will be having the south pole, okay. This side you will be having the south pole, and here and this side, this one, this end will be the north pole. Then can you understand now? Okay, so this is how we can determine the direction of the magnetic field, direction of magnetic field also, as well as the polarity also. I hope you have understood over here now. Okay, so if the current flows in clockwise direction, then the face facing towards you, the face facing towards us is south pole, okay. That will be south pole, and the another side will be north pole, okay. So this is how we determine the polarity of the loops, okay. So now if I say okay, that this is the situation in front of us. Now if I say that this is the situation in front of us, here that the current flows in this direction, you are standing somewhere here, and watching this loop. So what is the polarity that you see? Yes. Yes. Is the current moving in clockwise direction or anti-clockwise direction? When you see from this side, the current is moving in clockwise direction or anti-clockwise direction? Yes. The current is moving in anti-clockwise direction. So for anti-clockwise direction, what I have made? South pole or north pole? For anti-clockwise direction, I have made south pole or north pole? It will be north pole. Okay, it will be north pole. The same thing if I see from this side. What you will see? The same thing if I see standing from this side, what you will see? You will see the south pole. Okay. So from this side, if you see, this is north pole. From this side, if you see, it will be south pole. Okay. So this is how it happens. So that's why we are saying that the current carrying loop, can be considered as a magnetic dipole. Okay, and if we are considering it as a magnetic dipole, so it should be having south polarity as well as the north polarity. Okay, and how the north polarity and south polarity exists, I have shown that also to you. I have shown that also to you. Okay, so now there should be no any confusion in this. Fine. Okay, now the electric field at the perpendicular bisector. Okay, the electric field at the perpendicular bisector or in equatorial plane, you would have studied a value like this, kp by x cube. Correct? At perpendicular bisector, if you can remember, if this is positive and this is negative, okay, dipoles, electric dipoles, so the point over here, okay, the electric field was given by this equation. So suppose this equation is 5 at equatorial point. Yes. So in magnetism, if I write it like this, how will I write? I will substitute E. I will substitute E by B. I will substitute electric dipole by magnetic dipole. Okay. And I'll substitute epsilon. I'll substitute epsilon by 1 by permeability, mu naught. Okay. Now, if I use all these things, what do I get now? What do I get? I get magnetic field B will be equal to K M by x cube. This is the equatorial point, okay, or at the point perpendicular to the magnetic dipole. Okay, how you will visualize this? How will we visualize this? So just see this here. If we have a situation somewhat like this, we have a loop here. Okay, we have a loop over here like this. Correct? And the point that we are taking is somewhere here. In the same plane, the point is somewhere here. So the point should be here now. Okay, the point is in the plane. Okay, the point is in the plane of the coil. The point should be in the plane of the coil. Okay, so this should be for the point in the plane of coil. For the point in the plane of coil, in the plane of coil, in the plane of coil. Is it okay? This distance is x here. This distance is x here. So for here also I have shown you how the magnetic dipoles you can assume. How you can assume the magnetic dipoles. Okay. At along the axis, the result will be K2m by x cube. In the plane of the coil, the result will be Km by x cube. Okay. So that's how we build an analogy between the electric dipole and try to find out the results for the magnetic dipole. Okay. Through analogy we have done over here. We have done this through analogy. Okay. This topic will again come. This topic will again come when we start the chapter number 5. Okay. Using a magnet, using a bar magnet. Okay. Using a bar magnet, we have to see this point again. Okay. So in NCERT, again, that derivation or that point has been discussed using the analogy only. Okay. Analogy is just to build a like relation. Okay. Like what you say, that similarity, if it is there, so you build an analogy and you define one thing with respect to another thing. Fine. So I hope all of you have studied, understood this point. I hope everybody would have understood this point now. Okay. So the next topic is this. There is no difficulty in this. What we have done, for we were knowing the results for the electric dipole. We just replaced the electric field with magnetic field. We replaced P, which was electric dipole moment, with the magnetic dipole moment, and we replaced epsilon by 1 by mu. Okay, and we got a result. And we have said that the result which is along the axis, and one result we have got in the plane of the coil. That's it. And we have discussed that because if I'm calling it as a dipole, magnetic dipole, so I should be having two different poles. And how we will say two different pole? It is like that. Okay, it is like that. We have done by the clock S rule. Now, the next topic is the magnetic dipole moment of a revolving electron. Fine. The magnetic dipole moment of a revolving electron. So for a revolving electron, we have to see, okay, for revolving electron, we have to see the dipole moment. Okay, so let's do this now. Let us do this now. So do you think that if a charge is moving, okay, if a charge is moving, okay, will it be able to induce a current? Yes. If a charge is moving, it will be able to induce a current. Okay. So if I calculate the value of current over here now, if I want to calculate the value of current over here now, okay, the current set up by the circular motion, okay, if I want to calculate the current set up by the circular motion of the charge will be, okay, so what will be the current value then? Okay, so let us find out that first. So what I am going, how we will be starting this now? Current setup due to motion of a charge. Okay, current setup. So current setup due to circular motion, of charge. Okay, so I is equals to q by q into t. Okay, I is equals to q by t. Understood? I is equals to q by t. What you write? Q dq by dt you write now. So that is what I have written. Okay, now charge value, I know the charge value. I have to calculate the time over here. So what is time here now? Time is actually the frequency, okay, revolving frequency, or I can say the time taken to complete one round. Time taken to complete one round like this. Time taken to complete one round. Okay. So how you will calculate what is that time t? Time taken to complete one round. How do you find that? So it will be 2 pi divided by the speed. So speed is omega. So this current becomes now q into, okay, q divided by 2 pi by omega. So current value is now q omega divided by 2 pi. This is my first equation. Okay, this is my first equation. Okay, now using this I have to calculate the magnetic moment. Okay, I have to calculate the magnetic moment now. So what will be the magnetic moment? Okay, so magnetic moment, how do we calculate magnetic moment? Yes, how do we calculate magnetic moment of the charge or over here? So magnetic moment M will be given as I into area. Okay, I into, or which is current into area. So current value we have got as q omega divided by 2 pi. Okay, area, how do we find out? Pi r square. So just see this and simplify this. simplify this. So pi and pi, if you can see, it gets cancelled. So you will be getting 1 by 2 q omega r square. So this is my second equation. So magnetic moment we have found out. Magnetic moment we have found out as half q omega square r square. This is the magnetic moment now. Okay. Will there be an angular momentum over here? Angular momentum of the charge. Okay. So we have done this. Okay, this heading. The magnetic dipole moment of a revolving electron we wanted to calculate. We have done that. Okay. So this is the magnetic moment of a revolving electron. Okay. So we have done this equation number 2. Now we are trying to calculate one more value of magnetic moment. Okay. One more value of magnetic moment. So little bit of chemistry you can relate. Okay. Little bit of chemistry you will see here. Little bit of chemistry we will see over here now. Okay. So just tell me, what will be the angular momentum of the charge? Angular momentum if I want to calculate. Okay. So angular momentum of the charge. Angular momentum of charge. Yes. L, capital L it is. So what is angular momentum? M r square into omega. M r square into omega. V by r, listen, V by r is not angular momentum. Okay. Mass into acceleration is force, not momentum. MVR is correct. MVR is correct. MVR is correct. Mass into acceleration or V by R is how V by R will be your angular momentum. How V by R will be your angular momentum, and how mass into acceleration will be angular momentum. So angular momentum of any body will be given as mv into r or mr square omega or mr square omega. Okay. So just take the ratio of equation number 2 and equation number 3. What do you get? Just take the ratio of equation number 2 and equation number 3. So equation number 2 and 3. So what do I get? Magnetic moment divided by angular momentum. Magnetic moment and divided by the angular momentum if you take. So you are having q omega r square divided by 2. Then L is m r square omega. So do you get q by 2m? Do you get q by 2m? Yes. So m by L. M by L is q by 2m. Yes. Is this a constant quantity? Is this a constant value? Is this a constant value? Yes. This is a constant value. Let us call this as equation number 4. Let us call this as equation number 4. And this is a very, very important point. Okay. In questions, directly they can ask you. Sometimes they can ask you directly. They can directly ask you, what is the ratio? What is the ratio of magnetic moment to the angular momentum? What is the ratio of magnetic moment to the angular momentum? Sometimes they can ask you this direct question. The ratio of magnetic moment of electron or a charge, okay, over a angular momentum. So M by L ratio they can directly ask you. So this is what you will you have q by 2m, q by 2m. Okay. So this is very, very important. Now here I have taken positive. Okay. Everything what I have assumed is positive. Okay. Q is positive. That's why this value is here. Okay. Now, if I take for a negative charge, I'm writing for important points now. Okay. If I take for the negative charge, so this was the for positive charge. Okay. So I'm writing over here. Equation 4. Equation number 4 is valid for positive charge. Okay. For negative charge, okay, m by L value will be what? m by L value, how will you write? It will be written as minus of q by 2m. For negative charge, it is minus q by 2m. Did you understand this? For minus charge, for negative charge, what value do you have? M by L is equals to minus q by 2m. Understood? So what does this imply? What does this tells us? What does this tells us? This tells us that the angular momentum and magnetic moment, they don't have the same direction. Yes, because there is a minus sign. See, angular momentum is also having a direction because it's a vector quantity. Magnetic moment is also having a direction. Okay. Now, how you will find out the direction of magnetic moment and angular momentum? You know. Okay. Direction of angular momentum you have studied in class 11th. Direction of magnetic moment, I have told you here that you just rotate your finger in the direction of the current. Okay. And the direction of thumb will give you the direction of magnetic moment. And one more thing, that magnetic moment will always be along the direction of area vector. Okay. And it will be hence perpendicular always. Okay. So that was about the, if M and L, if I tell you that a particle is there whose magnetic momentum and angular momentum are in same direction. So the particle is having what charge? Positive or negative? So you will say it is having a positive charge. If I say the magnetic moment direction and the angular moment have two different directions for a charged particle, so what is the charge on the particle? So you will say it is a negative electron. Okay. So what do you infer from this important point? What do you infer from this? That M and L, M vector and L vector, okay, are in opposite direction, are in opposite direction. Do you understand? They are in opposite direction. Okay. So this M by L ratio, okay, sometimes this M by L ratio will be also given as, or they are also called as gyromagnetic ratio. Okay. M by L ratio, they are also called as gyromagnetic ratio. Okay. So if they ask you what is a gyromagnetic ratio for a charge, or for a positive charge, for a negative charge, so it is Q by 2m. It is Q by 2m. So gyromagnetic charge is what? Gyromagnetic ratio is what? It is M by L. It is the ratio of, or it is a ratio of M over L. Okay, this is the name also you have to understand. Okay, they can ask you this name also. They can ask you this name also. Okay. Now, what is Bohr's hypothesis? What is Bohr's hypothesis? What is Bohr's hypothesis? What is Bohr's hypothesis? Anyone? The second Bohr's hypothesis. Can anyone tell me? He told something about the angular momentum. He has told something about the angular momentum. So what did he say? That the electrons will revolve. Electrons will revolve in that orbit only. Electrons will revolve in that orbit only where its angular momentum is quantized. Where its angular momentum is quantized. So what does this Bohr's hypothesis states? Second, okay, it's not, there are three main hypotheses for this Bohr's hypothesis. And we are talking of the second one, okay, about angular momentum. So Bohr's hypothesis on angular momentum. On angular momentum. So what did he say about the angular momentum in Bohr's hypothesis? That L will be always a multiple of integers. Okay, it will be always an integral multiple of h by 2 pi. Okay, h by 2 pi. So angular momentum, how can you write in a statement? Angular momentum of an electron moving or revolving around nucleus is integral multiple of is integral multiple of, okay, h by 2 pi. And what is integral multiple of h by 2 pi? You know, okay. What is integral multiple? When I say integral multiple, or what is quantization condition? Okay. If I say it is a quantization condition, okay. So quantization condition means what? N can have a value 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. Positive integers you have to take. N value will be 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. Okay. Quantization of charge you have studied. In the same way, this Bohr's hypothesis, in that it is said that the angular momentum will be quantized, or it will be the angular, it will be integral multiple. Okay, it will be the integral multiple of h by 2 pi now. Okay, so this was the Bohr's hypothesis. So now we have the value of L over here. We know the value of m by L ratio. Okay, we know the value of m by L ratio. So now m by L is given as now. So this equation will be 4. Suppose this one is 5. Okay, this one is 5. This one becomes our 6th equation. Okay, so now m by L is what? Q by 2m. Okay, this implies m is equals to Q by 2m into L. Okay, now what is L value? L value we have as nh by 2 pi. So m value will become now Q by 2m, okay, nh by 2 pi. So if I solve this m, if I solve here, so what do I get it? nh into q divided by 4 pi m. Understood? So this is my equation number 7. And this is again a very, very important equation, not only in physics, but also in chemistry. This is a very, very important equation. The value of magnetic moment. Okay, the value of magnetic moment. One more value of magnetic moment we have seen. Okay, in terms of charge and angular momentum. One more value of magnetic moment we have seen. So it is given as NHQ by 4 pi m. NH by 4 pi m. Okay. So any charge in uniform circular motion will have a magnetic moment. Given like this. Correct. So equation 7, what does this equation number 7 tells? Equation 7 gives magnetic moment for any charge in circular motion. Okay, now just see here, if I substitute n as 1, if I put n is equals to 1, okay, q if I put as a charge of electron, charge of electron, okay, what do I get the value of capital M? Now? So I'm substituting the values, I'll get 1, okay, He divided by 4 pi m. I get 4 pi m. Okay. Did you understand this now? I get this value N He. Okay. E is the charge on electron divided by 4 pi m. Okay. Now, because I have put the value of N as 1, because I have put the value of N as 1, okay, this becomes the value called as Bohr magneton. I don't know this topic, Bohr's hypothesis or atoms have been completed for you in class 11th or 12th. I guess this is a 12th topic if I'm not wrong. Okay. If it is 11th, you should have studied. Okay. And if it is in class 12th, I don't know. Okay. But you will study this topic. Okay. This is called as Bohr magneton. So what is the Bohr magneton now? What is Bohr magneton? When I say what is Bohr magneton? So Bohr magneton means that magnetic moment of a particle, okay, magnetic moment of a particle or a charge, okay, which is moving in a first orbit, okay. So like you assume a hydrogen atom, okay. So hydrogen atom is having one electron, okay. It is having only one orbit. It is only having one orbit. Okay, it is having only one orbit. So if it is having only one orbit, so what you will substitute n value? N value you will substitute as 1. Okay. What will you substitute q value? You will substitute as E, charge of electron, charge on electron. Okay. Mass value of mass m value you will substitute for the mass of electron. Okay, mass of electron you will put. Understood? Then the value, the magnetic moment that you get now, the magnetic moment value that you get now will be called as Bohr magneton. Bohr magneton. So this Bohr magneton is the minimum magnetic moment. This is the minimum magnetic moment. Understood? Bohr magneton is a minimum magnetic moment. Do you understand this? Okay. N is number of orbit. Yes. N is the number of orbit in which the electrons can revolve. The number of orbits. N is the integral. See, N is the integral number. How integral number? N represents the orbit number. Okay. Can an electron revolve in 1.2 orbit? Can an electron revolve in 1.2 orbit? Yes or no? Can an electron revolve in 1.2 orbit, 1.7 orbit? Can it happen? No. So what will be the value of N? N will always be an integer, no? Positive integer. It will always be a positive integer. Correct? Yes, Bohr magneton is the smallest unit. Bohr magneton is the smallest unit. Bohr magneton is the smallest unit. A minimum value of magnetic moment. Minimum value of magnetic moment, okay, that an electron can have. Okay, that an electron can have. So every electron, okay, like a hydrogen atom if you take, okay, so electron will be revolving around the first orbit because it's having only one electron. So n value you will substitute as 1. Q value you will substitute the charge of electron. M value you will substitute for the mass of the electron, and you will get the minimum magnetic moment. Okay. So I hope you have understood this point. Okay. And with this we have completed this chapter. Okay. One important point is there that today one student had recalled that I have missed one point in moving coil galvanometer, which is very, very important to discuss. I don't know how did I forget, but we will see it now itself. Okay, we will see it now itself, and then I will give you the slides. Okay, then I will give you the slides. So we have not discussed anything after this. Okay, we have not discussed anything after this, I guess, for you people. Okay, so let us do it now. Okay, so how does this galvanometer, how does this moving coil galvanometer functions? Okay, here there will be a torque due to the current. Here there will be a torque due to the current. So torque is given as NIAB sine of theta. Torque is given as NIAB sine of theta. Okay. Can you see that? Okay. Torque is given as NIAB sine theta. Now, when this, just see here, when this torque is there, and this pointer moves, okay, if there is no counter torque, okay, if there is no counter torque, what will happen? If there is no counter torque, what will happen to it, to this pointer? It will continue to deflect. If there is no restoring torque, if there is no opposing torque, so what will happen to this? It will continue to deflect, correct? It will continue to deflect. It will not be stable at a point. Now, because there is a torque, there has to be a restoring torque which will be provided by this spring I have told you. Okay, this is spring. Yes, there will be a counter torque provided by this spiral spring. Okay, there will be a counter torque provided by this spiral spring. So this counter torque, okay, counter torque or restoring torque, if I say, it is given as C into theta, where C is the stiffness of the spring, where C is the stiffness of spring, okay. C is the stiffness of the spring. Now C is the stiffness of the spring over here, okay, where theta is the deflection and theta is the angular deflection. Theta is the angular deflection. Okay, now this equation number 1 on your screen and equation number 2 have to be same if the pointer is stable. If pointer is at one point, if pointer is not moving, okay, if pointer is not moving, this implies tau due to current, okay, and tau due to spring must be same, okay. So what is the torque due to current? It is NIAB. What is torque due to spring? It is C into theta. Okay, now from here, if I take N, okay, NAB divided by C into I is equals to theta. Okay, so this gives me that theta, this implies that theta, the deflection in the pointer, is directly proportional to the current value. This is directly proportional to the current value. This is a very, very important. Sometimes they directly ask you this. Okay, that how is this angular deflection of the pointer related to current? How is angular deflection of the pointer related to the current? So it is directly related to the current. Okay, now this complete quantity, what I have written separately, is called as sensitivity. So I'm representing it by S. So S into I will be theta. Okay, so here S is sensitivity of galvanometer. This is called as sensitivity of galvanometer. Okay, if by now if you have studied moving coil galvanometer, so in books you would have seen this. Okay, written as current sensitivity. Okay, it is being written as current sensitivity. Understood? So sensitivity of galvanometer. So how to find out the value of S now? S is given as S is equals to theta by I. So this I call it as sensitivity. If I call it as sensitivity or current sensitivity, both are the same thing. Okay, sensitivity, both are the same thing now. Okay, so this is also very, very important. One more important term is there. Okay, I don't know whether it's given in the book or not. which is called as voltage sensitivity, which is called as voltage sensitivity. So what is voltage sensitivity? How do you give voltage? Voltage is equals to V is equals to IR. V is equals to IR. So wherever you are having I, just multiply that with R. Okay. The value you will get will be called as voltage sensitivity. Okay. Voltage sensitivity. So how do I find out the voltage sensitivity now? So I'm taking this very equation. I'm taking this equation from here. Okay. I'm taking this equation and using. So just see here. I'm having NAB by C is equals to theta by I. Okay. I will multiply both side by R. I'll multiply both side by 1 by R. Okay. 1 by R and 1 by R. So now what I'm having, NAB divided by C into R. Here I will get theta by V. So this value becomes now voltage sensitivity. This value becomes now voltage sensitivity. Okay. So this is what I had forgot to discuss in the class. Okay. Now I have done this. So you will have this topic. Okay. And let me tell you this, the question on current sensitivity and voltage sensitivity is there in this weekend test portion. Okay. The question on current sensitivity and voltage sensitivity, it is there in this week's portion. So don't forget to see this. Okay. Direct question is there. That also I'm telling you. Direct question is given. Okay. So take this screenshot first. In between, if you have any doubt, you can ask. What is stiffness? Do you remember K into X? Do you remember K into X? K was what? K is stiffness of the spring. Okay. K is the stiffness of the spring. So here also C is the stiffness of the angular stiffness. Okay. There K was the linear stiffness. X was the linear displacement. So here, because it is twisting, because it is rotating, so you have to take it in a angular things or rotational sense. So C is the stiffness. Okay. Angular stiffness. Better I have to say. Okay. Angular stiffness. Suppose you just take one thing. Okay. How do I retell this? Okay. Just see this. Suppose there is a knob which you have to rotate. Okay. Suppose there is a knob which you have to rotate. Okay. Like door handle knob. Okay. Knob. The door's handle knob, you just rotate and the door gets opened. Okay. So when that lock is new, so it will be very like you have to apply more force in order to rotate that. So that time it's more stiff. Okay. But as soon as the time goes on, okay, so when you just apply a less force also, it will rotate. Okay. So that means the stiffness has become less. So that is what stiffness means here, angular stiffness. Okay. Yes, this is given in NCERT. This is given in NCERT. Yeah, yeah. In NCERT, it is given written with phi. In NCERT, it is written with phi. I am taking the angle theta. That's the only difference. But everything is given in the book. Everything is given in the book. Okay. Sensitivity means that for same current, how much deflection is there? For same current, how much deflection is there? That is sensitivity. For same current, how much deflection we have, that is called as the sensitivity. Okay. Just take the screenshot. I'll give you an example, then you'll understand in a better way, Nagaraj. Okay. Take the screenshots quickly. The word gyromagnetic means, okay, magnetic means, see, it's related to magnetism. That's why the word magnetic is there. And if you understand this word gyro, so gyro is like a, what do you say? If you search in the this dictionary, so the dictionary meaning of gyro word you will get as something which is related to rotation. Okay, something which is related to rotation, that will be called as gyro. Okay, so gyromagnetic means any kind of rotation that involves magnetism in that. Okay, so that I guess is will be gyromagnetic. Okay, because you will have gyroscopes. Okay, we have gyroscopes and all, which steers this ships, okay, in sea. So that is also based on the rotation sense. Okay, so I am not that much sure, but just check the meaning of gyro again. Okay, what I remember is that it is related to the rotation. Okay, anything that is rotating, okay, will be called as gyro. Okay, gyromagnetic. Okay, which relates to rotation as well as magnetism. Okay, you want to voltage slide again. So in Sunday's syllabus, okay, you are having galvanometer completely. What you have studied in current electricity, that portion also is coming. Okay, conversion of galvanometer into voltmeter, conversion of galvanometer into ammeter, moving coil galvanometer. All the three things are there. Then force and torque on a current carrying loop, force on a conductor, and force or the motion, force and the motion on a charge in a magnetic field. Okay, so the current in current electricity, what we have discussed, conversion of galvanometer into voltmeter, conversion of galvanometer into ammeter. That portion is also given there. Okay, that portion is also there. So don't forget to revise that also. Understood? Now just see here, what is the meaning of sensitivity? Just try to see what is the meaning of sensitivity. Suppose I say that through galvanometer, a current passes. Okay. What is the meaning of sensitivity? You see, suppose if there is a current through a galvanometer, if there is a current through the galvanometer, and I have two galvanometers in with me, I have two galvanometers with me, and the current passing through both the galvanometers are same. Both are having the same current. Suppose 2 ampere current is there. Both are having the same current. Okay. Now, this is zero pointer. This is zero pointer. This is pointer 0. Okay. This is pointer 0. 0 and 0. Now, for 2 ampere, this pointer, this first galvanometer deflects this much. This deflects by theta angle, theta 1. and the second deflects by this much for the same value of current. For the same value of current, okay, the first one deflects theta 1 and the second one deflects theta 2. So which one is deflecting more? First one or second one? Which one is deflecting more? First one or second one? Which one is deflecting more? First one or second one? Second one. So which one will have more sensitivity? First one is more sensitive, second one is more sensitive. Which one is more sensitive? First one or second one? Which one is more sensitive? First one or second one? Obviously the second one is more sensitive. Okay. So if I want to increase the sensitivity, see here, I'm taking this result. I'm just copying this result. Okay. If I want to increase the sensitivity, okay, that means I want to increase the theta value for a given current. For a given current, if I want to increase the theta, what I have to do? I have to increase N, I have to increase area, I have to increase B, and I have to decrease stiffness of the spring. Okay. If the spring will have more stiffness, that means the sensitivity will be less. Okay. And if C reaches infinite, this implies sensitivity. Okay. This implies sensitivity becomes 0. Okay. This implies sensitivity becomes 0. Understood? So this is also one inference from this discussion. Okay. So this chapter is finished. Okay. You'll get questions for Saturday and Sunday. Almost 15 questions are there. Okay. You'll get the questions today. You'll just take it. Okay. But I will tell you that once you finish the test on Sunday, then only you go for those questions, because that questions does not involve these concepts. Okay. No, the spring should not be thin. You cannot say thin or thick. The stiffness actually it matters. Okay. The stiffness is a different thing. You cannot relate this stiffness with the thickness of the spring. Okay. You may have it is actually stiffness you can relate by diameter, what diameter it is having. Okay. What length it is having, like that. Okay. Flexibility, kind of flexibility. Suppose if you would have used a hand pump, I don't know how many of you would have used this. Okay. Hand pumps. So you would have seen that if you hold the handle, okay, if you have a hand pump like this, okay, just see here, if this is a hand pump, okay, this is a hand pump, 1 and 2, okay. So if you apply a force at point 2, then easily you can move the handle, and at point 1 you cannot move the handle very easily. Okay. Why? Because of the length. Okay. So this is what stiffness means. So at 1 stiffness is more. At 1 you have to apply more force. That means stiffness is more. At 2 the stiffness is less, because you are getting this much of leverage. From here to here you are getting the leverage. But in this case you are getting leverage up to this point only. So this is actually the stiffness. Okay. Sensitivity is this one. Sensitivity concept is related to this thing. Okay. Sensitivity is this thing. Okay. For same current, how much the pointer deflects in 2 different galvanometer. For same current, how much deflection is there for the same in the galvanometer. Okay. So if one is deflecting less, one is deflecting more. So the one which is deflecting more will be higher sensitivity. Okay. So we will discuss, we will take more doubts if you are having on Monday. Okay. Monday you have doubt session from 5:30 to 6:30. Okay. If you have any doubt related to these topics, join from 5:30 to 6:30 on Monday. Okay. And write well the next exam, the Sunday's exam. Okay. Thank you.